Hello everyone, my name is Aditya Mani. I'm sorry about the slight delay in the start. Something we have to get over. I work for a company called Acuus, and we make health software. But the way we like to introduce ourselves is we also make health software. The name Acuus comes from Acuity Information Systems, and Acuity, as you know, is focused intelligence. I wanted to talk a little bit about the role of cloud computing in healthcare, and more than that, I also want to talk about some of the new approaches and different ways in which we're addressing clinical information systems as compared to how the administrative information systems have been rolled out in hospitals. So I thought I'll share with you one of the photographs we have from one of our trainings. So it's been about 10 years since we've been in this business of doing health IT. And I think it's been a great learning experience for all of us. The industry by itself, the health IT industry in India, is about hardly 15 years old. In the US, it's been around for about 20 years actively, and it's like an honor and a privilege to be a part of the system as it's evolving. And while we speak about health IT, it's also interesting to note that there's a huge flux going on in India, both in the realms of technology and healthcare. Healthcare is growing at a very, very fast pace today. We probably can't see it, but there are a lot of acquisitions happening. There are a lot of new groups coming in. There's a lot of change happening, and we're all witnessing it as we speak. The same is happening in India with technology, and health IT today, with the role it's playing world over and what it's playing in India, is also something that we're seeing as we speak. So this is a slide from one of our kickoff meetings where the gentleman on the left is our champion user. So he kind of represents IT and he represents the vendor, at least the IT initiative, and the person on the right is the doctor who's the end user. And you know, it's interesting because even though they're both doctors, they have very, very different perspectives and very, very different beliefs on what the benefit of health IT can do. Because of many failed initiatives and because of various reasons in the past of not being able to deliver, a lot of the end users today are a little skeptical about health IT, because there is so much being done by us, the vendor folk who come in. We give these beautiful demos, we talk about what can happen over a small laptop, over a half-an-hour presentation. That eventually to translate into reality in a hospital may take up to 10 years. That is something we do not tell our customers. And that gap, when it's realized by some of our customers, when I talk about ours, I'm talking about the entire health IT community, that causes a lot of fatigue, and a lot of them tend to resist health IT because of that. So, here some of the perspectives that within the IT team. So if you see the person on the right is the health IT champion. He's not a part of the IT team, but he's the health IT champion. He's the person taking it forward to the end users. Even within the IT team, there's such a big difference in the perspective. So if you see the doctor or the health IT champion, he focuses on it from more of a domain angle rather than a technology angle. And because most of the members of the IT community present in the IT team come from the IT industry, they have more of a technological stance about the entire thing. So most of these people who come in, the software professionals and support professionals who come into the IT team, they come in from either the ERP manufacturing space, so they have a very admin-centric view. And if you look at ERPs, you're really talking about having consistency in the process, having like extreme amount of discipline, coming onto minimum rejections, following a strict assembly line kind of process. It's very process oriented, and a lot of these stations where people sit, it's all desk based. So if someone's handling a purchase process, a supply chain process, it's all desk based. Whereas if you look at it really from a domain angle for healthcare, that's not the way to approach it at all. From the healthcare angle, it really has to be looked at from a point of care perspective. So the admin-centric view of saying that there is a narrow process in which you have to follow things won't really work as far as clinical is concerned. Ease of use is something that is a natural, you can say, selection criteria, because if you make a system too IT flavored, or you give too much structured data, a lot of drop downs. It looks great. You can say that all of these translate into codes in your database, but that's not the way healthcare in real life is done. Doctors are not going to use it. We're going to have a few people who will take it up because they're passionate about it, but they may not be able to translate that over their fraternities, because that's not the way healthcare is done in real life. Systems have to be very flexible. So in case I build in certain rule engines, like for example, if I want an SMS to be initiated on an admission process, that's a fixed rule. But if I want an alert, or if I want an SMS to be say initiated every time a patient is moved into an OT, I cannot do that, because there could be various reasons why a patient could be moved into an OT. There could be a backlog entry that could be done. So I can't go ahead and do these fixed rules, which I could do in my admin side of it, on the clinical side of it. And one thing we have to realize is that these doctors are on the move. They're not people who are going to be sitting behind desks. They're not people who would like to go log in, put in their credentials, work behind a green screen or work behind terminal. What really works for them is pen and paper. What really works for them is being on the move, being able to talk to their senior on rounds, be able to take notes during that process, also be able to stand by the patient table in ICU and take notes, charts. I mean, that's really the way it should be done, and that's the gap that we are trying to push by forcing technology on them. And because I think some of us come from a traditional IT approach, I think we tend to make some mistakes when it comes to our IT rollouts in healthcare. One is we tend to make it an IT project, which is either an SDLC lifecycle, or we tend to look at it from a very typical rollout strategy, which is a big bang kind of approach. This kind of fails because every doctor, anyone who's done health IT on the clinical side will tell you that every doctor is a different animal, every doctor has to be treated differently, and everyone has to be understood separately. So if you're trying to push one flavor of an IT implementation on a very big group, or want to do it in a big bang across the hospital, it's probably going to be a much tougher way to do it, rather than from a ground up with smaller groups, focus groups, and having user groups translated to their fraternity. There is also a need to over-automate. This also happens because some of us are engineers and we tend to get very passionate about technology, so we like to over-automate. There is also this admin flavor which says, let's get rid of paper. What we don't realize is paper is a very, very effective tool. Paper can instantly communicate. Paper is something that's portable. Two people can read on paper. Two people can tell each other notes on different shifts to each other with the help of paper. So paper is really not that bad a thing that we need to get rid of. There's a lot of good that paper can do. And there's a lot of interesting ways in which you can use paper and still have a lot of digitization in real time in life. And of course, the biggest problem that a lot of us in the last 10 years have been doing, and we're now owning up in health IT conferences, that we've been pushing too hard on structured data, and really clinical is all about narrative data. If I were to sit a patient down in front of me and say, no, I will not listen to what you have to say, please run by the questions which I'm going to ask you, and please follow it in the same format, the patient is not going to listen to you. The doctor is not going to be able to do it in that manner, because the patient suddenly remembers that, oh, I also have this problem. You can't stop him right then and there and say, no, please go through my list of questions first. So the entire structured data piece needs to be rethought of, and today technology can help us do that very well. So, as is very obvious, I mean, the IT project kind of lacks a buy-in, because when it becomes too big and huge a project, a lot of doctors tend to get bored of coming for these meetings. They say the same thing is said again and again. Why does it take so long for you to act on something which is so simple? There is also there are a lot of problems that come when you over-automate. So we tend to both over-automate on the process side of it as well as the technology side of it. So we'll get management buy-in, and then we'll pass a circular saying that all doctors will do order entry through the system, otherwise order entry will not happen. We all know what that can lead to, and if that's done overnight. I talked about getting rid of paper, which is not exactly a very wise thing to do in a real clinical context. And this, of course, results in very complex forms, and ultimately it's a kind of fatigue which sometimes results in a rollback, because even your champion after some time is not able to push forward. It's like hitting against a wall when, when it comes to reasoning with him and him reasoning with his community. And also what tends to happen is like, the champion is not able to understand why the IT team cannot understand this. So it becomes like a war. So in a very funny manner, put a scalpel against a gun, and both of them are like completely daggers drawn and they're not able to see each other's point of view. We've all seen this in a lot of IT conferences and health IT conferences. When you're in a hole, stop digging. So your belief systems tell you that whatever you've been doing till now is the right thing to do, keep doing it. No matter how tired you are, keep doing it, keep doing it. But when you're in a hole and you've been taught to dig, please stop digging, because you're going to go deeper and deeper and you're not going to be able to get out of it. So really what we need to do is think of a kind of way at re-looking at the entire thing. So we have a lot of opportunities here. So rather than looking at it as a big, huge IT project, let's look at solving real-life clinical problems. So if a doctor tells me that I'm not able to get a panic value at home when I'm at home, let's try and automate a simple SMS, and let's try and see if that can work. Let's try and see if we can send the SMS to the right set of people. That would be something where you can demonstrate value very fast and you can actually get their buy-in. When we're talking about over-automation, we would rather give them the opportunity to take that decision voluntarily rather than the system taking that decision. So it becomes more of a decision support mechanism rather than an automation mechanism. There's a lot of, as I mentioned before, there are a lot of technologies available today which work very well with paper, and these work in an almost live environment. So I think healthcare is one of the best scenarios to adopt this, and these are very low cost technologies and we can all work on this. And again, we can work with unstructured data as well. So I spoke about let's solve the problem. So find a pain point that's pressing, measurable, and go for low hanging fruit. This way you'll be able to demonstrate value. Like I said earlier, the clinical scenarios are both unpredictable and they require a lot of human decision making. Now if this decision making is passed on to the system, and if there is any kind of events which are triggered by this decision making, it should be very, very well thought out, because what goes out at night with a 2 a.m. alert is something only the IT team gets to know the next morning, and we know what it is when we call to the chairman's office. I'm going to move on to the unstructured data part. And a lot of us are using BI today, which is business intelligence. And today BI can tell us that even something in a text box can be counted. Something in a text box can be, you can count how many times it's happened, you can relate it to a code table, even if it's written in a different spelling. So our traditional way of designing forms with drop downs and check boxes and radio buttons just to get that information is probably the old school way of doing it, and we should think of doing it in a newer mechanism. We all know the very good example of using unstructured data. Go ahead, open your Google search engine, type whatever you want. It's going to recognize it. It's going to be able to index it, because the indexing is done before you've actually typed it in. The same thing can be done with our HRS systems as well. I've also shown another example of Facebook, that as you're typing the person's name, it's recognizing the person and allows you to tag it. It does it with locations. These softwares like Google and Facebook have been extremely popular and have moved forward only because of the ease of use. If we would, if we were to have made Facebook and probably given it to IBM or any other, or SAP, it wouldn't have probably reached the kind of proliferation it has. The idea is to make forms cleaner, less controls if possible, and intelligent text boxes. There is also this concept of ubiquity. Now, what happens is a lot of us today have Blackberries, iPhones, various Android devices, and we feel the need to be connected at all points in time. So I feel I'm connected with my friends right now in the US. I can use an application like Facebook to also connect with my peer groups. It could be health IT groups, it could be healthcare groups on Facebook through very secure channels which are not public channels. So why can't I do the same using technology for healthcare, right? Why can't I have a collaboration medium where a case study is shared across various apps? People just use very simple text to write into that saying, okay, go ahead, do this. Simple English, nothing very complex. You will get a lot of buy-in if something like this can be worked out. A lot of people in the industry are actually rethinking the entire process of how you can communicate and use ICT intelligently amongst clinicians. So what can technology do? I mean, there are two things which are present today which we're not fully leveraging in healthcare. One is the power of the cloud, and one is the concept of multi-UI. So a lot of us still have either a browser-based system or we have a Windows-based system. We're not really looking at the various UIs that you can expose yourself to. Cloud, as we know, is the web in a way. It's always on, it's ubiquitous, but there is a difference. There's something called elastic scale. So like Mr. Gunjan had told us, there's something called virtualization which can help us virtualize an entire data center, for example. Now once I've virtualized a data center, I can give you 1/4 of a server, I can give you 21.75 servers, I can even give you 3000 servers for 2 minutes. That is the power of elastic scale that the cloud can give us. That is something that we have not yet leveraged in healthcare, and I think the democratization, which is the low cost of healthcare, the low cost of healthcare information systems, can be done with the help of cloud. This is our company vision, and this is something we believe in. If you look at the major stakeholders that we have, we talk about a patient who would really not like to deal with information technology other than something as simple as a phone, which could be just answering the call and the phone tells me what my lab reports are. I don't want to deal with a web-based system. It could be something like a touch-based system, which could either be a kiosk or it could be a smart tablet or a phone. That is something which a healthy patient who's somewhat in touch with technology would be willing to use. But all of this needs to be real-time connected and communicating with all these external interfaces. This is something that the cloud can do for us. This is something that a multi-UI thought process can do for us if we start to rethink our systems again. And really what I've shown for the doctor is a phone, because they're really good with their devices. They're really good with their ICU devices, they're really good with their medical devices, they're really good with their phones. So dismissing that doctors are not good with IT is actually a wrong concept. They're otherwise organized, they're able to deal with it, but probably they've been given such well-designed, simplified devices by our medical device companies. Maybe there's a learning in for us as far as health IT is concerned. This is the same slide, but more from a technology angle. So these cloud services are exposed. You can consume them in whichever kind of application you want. I can give you an example of, say, your banking today. Your banking is probably exposed through a touch ATM. It's exposed through your mobile phone, either through an app or through SMS. It's exposed through to an IVR where you call in and you pay your credit card bills. It's exposed to you as a web application as well. This is really how we need to rethink our entire strategy. Again, I go back to the example of Facebook. I'm connected to Facebook all the time because I have these multiple channels to communicate to them. And all my friends who are connected in are using not necessarily the same channel as I, but they're using a different channel, but I'm connected with them. So this is something that I feel all of us are on that path, but I think the urgency is now. So maybe we should put like special purpose task force into this. And I won't take up too much time. This is the last slide that I have. So if we really intelligently combine domain and technology, we can kind of head towards delivery, and we needn't have the scalpel versus gun war which we'd shown earlier. Thanks. This is a real life shot of us, of one of our champions talking to one of our. So this was actually a success of the go live of that module. So we actually took a snap of that and we use it as our thanks slide in most of our presentations. Thank you very much for your time.